Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
AJ Fredrickson, I got a question for you. Do you want to talk about the first half of the Wild's 4-3 win in Seattle late on Tuesday night, or would you prefer to talk about the second half? Because, my God, we had two very, very different hockey games played.
I think it'd be fair because Judd, I read some of the comments we get occasionally.
Okay.
And by that, I mean most of them. Some people think that we are very negative on this team sometimes. So I think let's start with the first half, and then we can make our way to the second half in chronological order, because this team, for the first half of play, I think deserves a little praise, a few players in particular, before we tear into a lifeless effort in the second half of that game last night.
Fair enough. Okay, let's start the first half. And actually, I think a line that had a good game. Now, the first half, outstanding. Let's talk about, and speaking of, these are some players that we have been on this show negative about. So if you think that we have been a negative voice on certain players, listen up closely. The second line of Freddie Gaudreau, who's been thrust into a second line place with Joel Eriksson out, Marcus Johansson, and Matt Zuccarello, which was formed a few games back when Zuccarello was taken off the first line. Last night, Johansson, 2 assists, including a beauty on a Zuccarello goal. 1 shot +2. Gaudreau, a goal, an assist, 3 shots +2, and a marvelous effort on a penalty kill in which he gave his stick to Jake Middleton, and then just basically did a fantastic job. Matt Zuccarello, a gorgeous goal, completed a goal, by the way. He didn't make a pass here. An assist, 2 shots +2. Let's start with that line, because I think it's been now, Gaudreau and Johansson, in my estimation, have had like 4 really good games.
Yeah.
It is refreshing to see Marcus Johansson contributing. And it's nice to see, because I think that he works his ass off, and he certainly had a very tough year through injuries last season. Gaudreau playing so well.
Yeah, Freddie Gaudreau, I think we've both been on record saying, like, skill-wise, we don't think he's necessarily like a top 6 guy, but you cannot knock his work effort. Like, he works just as hard as anybody out there, whether he's making $1 or $1 million or $10 million a season. So it's nice to see that for this stretch of hockey over the most recent week and a half or so, he's been playing really, really well. Like, this guy has really risen to an occasion they just had Ryan Hartman out, come back from being suspended last night. He stepped up in that absence. You've had Kirill Kaprizov out, Joel Eriksson out. He stepped up to kind of fill that second center role. And he's done it very, very well at a level that I think is higher than what we normally expect from his level, from a player of his caliber. And then on his wing, we know what Matt Zuccarello is, and I think Matt Zuccarello is still a very good player. He needs, I think, players with him that either are skilled already, or what we're seeing out of Freddie Gaudreau, rise to the occasion. And on the other side of that wing pairing is Marcus Johansson, who maybe there was a kick in the shorts, realizing, Gus Nyquist coming in to steal my job. Who knows what sort of happened there, but we've seen now, I think, 3 or 4 games of fully engaged, trying hard, getting to gritty areas. For the most part, there's still some shifts where I would like a little bit more, but for the most part, engaged Marcus Johansson. And that line, when they're playing like they are, exactly what you saw last night. Granted, I don't think you're going to say that come late in the playoff season that the Seattle Kraken are going to be vying for a Stanley Cup playoff or a Stanley Cup championship. But at the same time, they're still a professional hockey team in the NHL. You're in their barn last night. It's a late start. This is the team that just snapped a losing skid in a very ugly game against the Boston Bruins. You had to build off that. No surprise, they do it on the road. We'll see if they can bring that back home here after they travel up to Vancouver, I want to say this Friday, before a very long home stretch.
Correct.
That line is exactly what I think this team needs right now, because we didn't see that very much, I think, on Sunday against the Bruins. They had some skill. They had some flair. They drove north to south to, that kind of up. Instead of going east-west, they are getting the play through the neutral zone quickly, and that's exactly what a line with those guys should have.
Yep.
And which we haven't seen from especially a guy like Marcus Johansson. He's frankly kind of getting to the net. They're driving somebody through the middle, and then maybe they kick it out like they did with the Zuccarello goal. But it's easy plays that result in very high chance opportunities compared to normally what we see. So that line, especially for the first 30 minutes of last night, was if you're going to give it to a grouping, my first star. That line was tremendous.
So the positivity will return in 1 second, but the Marcus Johansson thing is very simple. His contract expires, and this is what he does.
Yeah,
he's great. Like that. That's why he's such a great rental, because he's talented. Now I don't know that he always works, like to your point about grinding at times, but the dude's got skill. The question is, when does he choose to unleash that skill? And that skill gets unleashed when his contract's about to expire. But anyway, I digress. That line's been great. All right. Next positive talker. Vinny Hinostroza has been a revelation. 4 goals in 8 games since being plucked off the waiver wire from Nashville at the time to replace his buddy, his best friend growing up in Chicago, Ryan Hartman. Last night, a goal on the power play, a shot. He also made a key, I believe it was a screen on the Jared Spurgeon goal. Here's what I love about this guy. He's not especially big, but he does what we have been calling for Boldy to do consistently every time. He's not afraid to go to the front of the net and I know that's not always what Boldy is supposed to do. Personally, I think it should be, but the point is, Hinostroza, you talk about greasy goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
You talk about willing to pay the price, because he's not a big guy. He is willing to pay the price. And if he does this, if this is him, like if he's going to be dedicated to the craft of this, because as Bill Guerin said in complaining about it, I don't blame him on Sunday at his press conference, defensemen can't move you now. You can't cross-check you. I mean, they could try to push you, but the fact is you get beat up, but you don't get beat up anything like you used to in front of the goaltender. But Vinny Hinostroza, when you watch him play, at least what he's doing right now, it's not like, oh, I'm really shocked that he's scoring some goals. He is doing what you need to do. Third line last night, Foligno, Hartman, and who had 4 shots, had a couple of great scoring chances and just missed. But Foligno, Hartman, Hinostroza, again, I applaud him. Absolutely not fantastic, but they work hard, and this kid is doing a really good job.
Well, the thing about him, too, is he's playing like a guy that knows he was just put on waivers and is playing like he wants another shot at the NHL, like a consistent day-to-day. This is a guy making, I think, like $700,000 and some change. Not a lot in the NHL. I think he's under contract for 1 more year, but you go from a team with Nashville, you kind of get plucked from them being sent down to a team that is in the playoff picture, had an amazing start, essentially everything that I think he thought the Nashville Predators were going to be at the start of the season. But he's playing like he's unafraid. He's playing like he's got something to prove and that he is trying to stake his claim in any roster spot. And frankly, I think he's doing a fantastic job. I was surprised by just how much, because granted, he maybe has arguably gotten more opportunities than most guys who get claimed off waivers, because I think it was the first game in where they were like, yeah, I think you're on the top power play unit. And frankly, that's just fine, because if he's going to play
back there last night,
if he's going to play like this, it's absolutely deserved. He goes to the front. He's not the biggest guy, but he's screening the goaltender. He's pretty good with his stick, frankly, around the middle. We saw, I think it was his first power play goal with the team was like batted out of midair from standing right out front. Exactly what Bill Guerin was talking about, praising a guy like Marco Rossi for going to the net. Guess what? Another not as big guy going right to the net. He's rewarded. It's been very interesting, because when you have somebody come in like that, immediately you can see a work ethic. You can see a drive to sacrifice for a group of guys where, yes, he knows Ryan Hartman. I'm sure he has a repertoire and a reputation with some of these other guys. But for the most part, you are a new stranger on the block. You're the new guy in school. You just transferred in from out of town.
Right.
He is probably black and blue underneath those pads from blocking shots, from getting both in the offensive zone and defensive zone.
Right.
But it's a nice tone setter, just maybe a wake up call to some of these other guys. Like, okay, this guy's been here for a cup of coffee, and he's already lost a tooth in a sense.
4 goals in 8 games, and
performing well.
Yeah, I like the fact that he also. I'm willing to. I've not watched him a lot. He's been with the Blackhawks, the Predators. I think he's been with 4 or 5 teams. But anyway,
has he been with the Blues too?
He might have. I don't
Just
remember
the whole
him
Central Division
as a Blue, but he is a guy who I'm willing to diagnose or bet his problem is this. He is a fast skater, which probably led him and teams to think that he's got skill, and he's probably more of a mucker than a skill guy. But he's really fast, and so it's probably like, hey, let's use your speed, and then it's like, oh, okay, you're really not that good. I would liken him to a wide receiver who's really fast, but can't necessarily catch the ball great. Troy Williamson. So like the fact that he's now doing grinder stuff and greasy, dirty stuff, I think is great. Okay, last thing positive before we get to a few of the second half of the game takeaways, which aren't going to be this uplifting. How close would you say Philip Gustavsson is to being back? He gave up 3 goals last night, but he made 11 third period saves. Absolutely clutch. Got the shutout against the Bruins. I would not characterize that as he stood on his head, but I'm also not going to disparage the fact that he did get a shutout there. How close would you say that Gustavsson is back to being the Gus Bus that we saw to start the season?
I would say you are in like grabbing distance. Like, he's not there yet. But last night, I think he looked good because one of the goals was a slap shot from the point that he was screened by John Merrill by. And it was kind of just a poor, he chose to look over Merrill's right shoulder because he was coming across.
First goal, right?
I believe so. And that was the Adam Larson goal. Yeah, because it ended up staying short side. So
that was a weird play.
Unfortunate screening there. The other one was just a bad clear.
Yeah.
A bad clear that results in 2 penalty killers at the top of the zone who then can't cover a passing lane. And I know we'll talk about that here, I'm sure, shortly. That was that the Shane Wright goal, or was that the Brandon Montour goal?
That was the Shane Wright goal.
Okay. So Shane Wright on that goal. But for the most part, I think he's doing the stuff that we saw earlier this season. Rebound control has been relatively good. He's bailing the team out. I mean, I think it was Shane Wright. Maybe it was Matty Beniers who had a breakaway after a really good stretch pass, I think, from Larson, and stone cold stopped him. Penalty shot last night on a phantom slashing call. Guess what? He's now 3 for 3 on penalty shots this year. He, for as much as maybe some of the other guys you could say took a beating at the Four Nations, I know he left in the middle of the tournament with an illness. He seems to be the most unscathed, and we're kind of getting back to the play that I think we saw from Philip Gustavsson in that first month or two leading into middle of December-ish, because he's been playing well, and he's giving this team, despite, I think, what they record 19, 20 shots on goal last night, putting them in a position to win despite not maybe having that much offensive outcome.
Yeah. Just quickly, the penalty shot call was a terrible call. That was not a penalty shot. But I renew my call for the NHL to adopt the college rule. You should be able to decline a penalty shot for the guy going to the box. You should be able to decline it. The penalty shot used to be really cool because you didn't see him, but the shootout now, and plus now you got guys. It used to be a penalty shot. Guys would get the puck, skate in, and shoot. Now they do the shootout crap, right? They dipsy doodle around, and if I was a coach, I would say, you know what, we are declining every penalty shot unless it's absolute, unless it's McDavid. I want last night.
Last night was a weird circumstance though, because they were already going to go on a 2-minute power.
4 minutes. I want my 4 minutes because I can score twice there.
But
it
depends on
I'm Seattle,
who gets penalized though.
If I'm Seattle, I want Faber in the box for 4. Because I would love to go against this penalty kill. Now it did actually have a killer, so it was not great, but it was better. But yeah, I just the penalty shot to me is so anticlimactic, and when it's done, and it's not a thrill anymore. Okay, let's talk about the bad here. The first line was awful. Matt Boldy, an assist, a shot, -2. Marco Rossi, 1 shot, that's it, -2. Gus Nyquist, second game, 1 shot. -1, and as you texted me at some point in the third period, you saw Foligno was plugged in Boldy's place, and Boldy did play with he was not hurt. He played with a demoted line. Unacceptable. Like, of all the things I saw last night, and just for context here, in the final 30 minutes and 1 second of this game, the Wild had a 1 shot on goal. So, but this one, to me, your first line, unacceptable, and I think we saw a Boldy float game last night again. I think he was floating around, and he did pick up a point, but you can't have this. You just can't have this.
Yeah, it was late in the game, and granted, it was kind of a, let's look outside. I know we're getting a lot of snow, and then let's go back to the game. And I looked, and it was a face-off, and I was like, why is Foligno there? Would they get trapped for icing? Why is he out there with Rossi and Nyquist? And then they win the face-off, and they clear the zone, and I'm like, okay, he's going to go off now. No, he hard on the forecheck. Yeah. That was when Decord came way out almost to the blue line to catch it and try to throw it back up ice. It's like, that's really odd. And then a shift or two later, out comes Hartman centering Boldy and Hinostroza.
Yep.
According to Money Puck, that line got 58 seconds of ice time. Foligno, Rossi, Nyquist, 41. So it was at the very, very late stages of the game. I bet you if you asked, you'd either get one of two answers, which was, yeah, we just had to shake things up. Matt wasn't maybe having that great of a night. Foligno had the spark. Or it's a defensive type of thing where Foligno, that stage of the game, probably adds
it's still a demotion more. Though.
But Matt, it's still demotion.
Exactly. Like Matt Boldy ordinarily, it'd be different if it was a high scoring wing who didn't know how to play defense at all, right? Yep. Then I'd be like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. This was a demotion.
Oh yeah, and
well deserved.
Once again, I mean, I think you texted Jesse and I was like, hey, have you seen Boldy on the ice? I was like, I think I saw him take a couple swigs of water on the bench. He did great form there. It was a very, I saw 12, but I didn't really see 12. It was just kind of, he's on the ice. Okay. He's along the wall and I blink and he's already going off for a change. Wow. That he didn't really do much out there. Okay. But I'm sure next shift comes essentially the same thing. Just, I don't know. It's frustrating, Judd, because we see how good this guy is. And maybe I'll give it because now he's got tonight off day, tomorrow off day, Friday, you're in Vancouver. This is my final, especially I think Brock Faber looked better last night. I don't know if you agree with that or not. Less exhausted from what we've seen.
Yes, exactly.
But this is now with 2 days off in a row before a game. You should be rested and re-engage come Friday. I don't like giving you the excuses, but also this is it if you're going to have them.
He doesn't look tired though. He just disappears. Brock looks like that. That's what I was saying on Sunday about Brock. To be very clear, I said I don't think he's playing poorly, as in he's not trying. Yeah. He looks like he is exhausted, and the time that he spends on ice, both here and at the tournament, bear that out a little bit. And I agree with you. I thought that he didn't look as tired. He's always a good player for the most part. Like he makes some mistakes, but he's a good player. But Boldy just disappears. I don't feel like this was I'm tired. I feel like this was I'm not engaged tonight. This can't happen, and it especially can't happen this time of year. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. I don't get where he goes. I don't get what his game is. Very easily defined. Work your ass off all the time. You're skilled, you're really good, buddy, but you got to work your ass off, and there are just certain nights where I just, when John Hines takes him off of a line and then sticks him on a third line, not the second, and the second line's been great, so he shouldn't have broken that line up. But when John Hines does that to me, that's a clear-cut message, and I love it. But I just, it's so frustrating he has to do it. But yeah, I would not compare Faber and Boldy because I've never thought that Faber is taking time off. I
Mhm.
just think he looks like he needs like 2 days of sleep.
Yeah, I guess I should say that. Like that was my benchmark of Four Nations hangover should
Mm-hmm.
be gone by this Friday against the Canucks. Like Faber, I expected maybe similar to what we've seen the past couple of games where he's like he looks a little tired, blah blah, blah, but he definitely looked like he took a stride closer to what we've seen prior to the tournament. Like he looked like the normal workhorse,
Right.
minutes eating defenseman that they know. Matt Boldy just look and I'll agree with you. He probably looked less engaged, but that's like a normal thing. Like we've seen
I
that from
know.
him even before the tournament. So that's why
You're right.
I don't know. I feel bad giving any sort of excuse for him because we know this is a normal thing for him. But
Right.
mental fatigue is a thing. So I guess I understand that. But also, like it doesn't take a lot to just you can be out of position but still look like you're trying. If that makes
Yeah.
sense, I
Well,
don't know. Go
and
ahead.
and like you said, when you're watching it on TV or you're at the game and you see him, and then you
Mhm.
forget about him,
Yeah.
like that's just you know what, H, ton of snow out there. I know,
Mm.
unexpected, but I'm also looking at the advanced forecast and I'm seeing 50s. I'm seeing 50s and like so this stuff's gonna melt. This stuff is going to melt, but where can you go right now to work on that golf game so when it does melt, you're ready to go for the golf season?
Oh, it's Swing Lab Performance Golf Center. That's exactly where you're going to
Thank
want to
you.
go. And I know right now, if you go outside, you're going to move some of the snow and it's heavy, it's packed down, it's wet, it's sloppy. You might hurt your back. Let's take it easy. Let's stay indoors. And you can go indoors to Swing Lab where you can get some great golf lessons with golf season right around the corner. It's the premier indoor golf facility. And they're located over in Lakeville. They have PGA certified instructors to help any golfer's game. You know, you can do one-on-one lessons because sometimes you're a little more shy. You want to do that kind of big reveal where it's like, hey, Rob's hitting the fairway today. God, he's really been working on his game in the off season. Or maybe you and your buddies are wanting to shake off that rust together. Groups 2 to 4 are able to get in at Swing Lab Performance Golf with multiple different programs. Whether you want to fine tune that short game, whether you want to really let the big dog eat and work on the, do you want to add a draw, a slice to your game? You've got it, whatever. They have the technology and PGA certified instructors to help you add that to your repertoire. Check them out in Lakeville. Go online to swinglabperformancegolf.com or give them a call at 763-453-5892. That's 763-453-5892. Swing Lab Performance Golf.
Great stuff, sir. We'll be back. So, as H said, the Wild next plays on Friday against the Canucks, but I'm sure we'll have at least another episode, if not two, because the trade deadline, don't forget, is Friday before that Canucks Wild game. So, a couple more, I'm sure, episodes to come. Judd's Hockey Show. We'll see you later.